Hey, 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 it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I have an incredible interview for you. You are going to love my conversation with Wendy Smith. She's a local real estate professional. She is the owner of Matter Homes here in Toronto, and she helps people find a place to call home in this beautiful, vibrant city. She began her career as a marketing professional at some of the top advertising agencies in Toronto and has over a decade of invaluable corporate experience. Wendy decided to lean into her entrepreneurial roots and launch a business in the printing and design field. After the sale of that business, she followed her longtime passion for real estate and joined the amazing team at Bosley. Combining Wendy's passion for helping people with her marketing and her business experience, her clients are in the best hands to help them make the most out of life's big event, buying and selling a home. So, Wendy and I talk into why it's more important than ever to partner with a real estate professional, especially as a designer. We share a marketing tip that actually is so amazing. Later in the episode, you're going to listen to something that I've taught my students to do with realtors. She actually is doing with one of our Power of Process alumni, and it has been a phenomenal experience for both of them. So stay tuned to the end for that nugget. We are talking about what you can advise your clients to do when they're looking to update their home with the idea that they may sell in the near future versus how you can approach it if they're not going to sell for another 10 years. She shares specifically what is moving the needle in selling homes today in the real estate market we are in. You're going to love this one, designers. Get your pen and paper ready because you're going to take a lot of notes. Enjoy my episode and my interview with Wendy. All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Wendy, welcome to the podcast. I'm so stoked to have you here today.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm very excited. First podcast and a bit of a bucket dream of mine, so I can't wait.
Yes, I'm so excited. I get to be your first.
Yes,
I feel
it's
so honored.
amazing. Thank you for having me.
So why don't we dive right in? I've got tons of questions for you. This is going to be a really great conversation because you're such a dynamic speaker. But before we go there, can you just introduce yourself to my audience?
Of course. So hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Smith. I'm a full-time real estate professional with Bosley Real Estate here in Toronto. I have a background in business, marketing, and design. And for the last few years, I have had the honor of helping numerous clients transition from on their moves from home to home. So I absolutely love what I do. It's super rewarding, a little wild at times, I will be honest. The real estate world is, I like to refer to it as a roller coaster, but it's amazing. And yeah, I'm just truly grateful that I found my thing. I love it.
I love it. I love that you say it's a bit of a roller coaster. I always say to designers that being an interior designer is a little bit like living in the Wild West. But I think actually that probably applies even more to real estate.
It's just so unpredictable. Like every day is just different and it keeps you on your toes. I have the personality for it. But it definitely takes, it takes a certain type of person. I think at the end of the day, and you'd agree with this, Rebecca, is that we're entrepreneurs. We're running our own business. So you're always kind of running into things that you didn't expect to happen. So you just have to be prepared for that. And especially working with clients during emotional times and all that. So yeah, the Wild West is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's a lot of unpredictability. I know designers, oftentimes we talk a lot about the unpredictability in your revenue flow, right?
Hmm.
Because
Oh, yes.
similar real estate, similar to design in the sense is it's project based, right? So you've got a
Yeah.
client who comes to you, it could be big, could be small, and then they're done. It's not this
Hmm.
repeat. I mean, ideally, all of us have repeat clients, but it's not, every month they're paying us a retainer. It's a very different model. And so it's finding ways to mitigate those ups and downs and have the stomach for it a little bit, right? And be ready
Absolutely.
to,
I think it's similar too in the sense that like it could be you could be with a client for 6 months, on the project. And then, you move on, or you could have a client for 3 weeks and then you move on. It's hard to forecast what it looks like. I have a lot of buyers that will come to me, and of course, on the other side of it, they want to sell their home, but it might take us a year to find their dream home.
yeah.
So it's hard. It's unpredictable in the sense that you're in it long term. But then there are those clients that, they call you and just say, I just found my dream home. I need to buy it today.
Yeah.
So then it's like everything drops, everything in my life. And then you move forward, you help them. So
Yeah.
it's just wild. It really is. It's the one word I can describe real estate is wild.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I love it. I love it. I have such a passion for real estate. I pretty much live on realtor.ca every day looking and then
And
House
so do all my
Sigma
clients.
and looking. And I'm like, ooh, that's sold for under asking. And I think I fancy myself as expert in real estate, which
Of
I'm obviously
course. Well,
not.
it's
But I'm
fun,
like,
It's
I love
it's
it.
also it's also just managing what's happening out there. And I'm happy to kind of share with you. No, I mean, I can tell you what's happening in the market. It's a little unpredictable right now, but I can tell you what works, and design is a huge part of that, of what works in selling homes right now. Like it's more
Yes.
important than I think it's ever been. So I'm happy to share my insight on that. And I think all the designers that you help and you mentor, I think they're really gonna get some good tips from this.
Yeah. So let's go there because let's start with, oh God, there's so many questions I have for you. I'm just like, where do I start? The first question
Love
that
it.
comes to mind is really specific. When it comes to selling a house, what is involved from a design standpoint? Because I know many of us are seeing, especially in Toronto, maybe bigger, more metropolitan cities, that you need to stage the home to sell it. Gone are the days where your house, you just tidy it up a little, declutter, and then homeowners come through and they know it's for them. Talk to
Hmm.
me about, I mean, we've seen that shift change, I think, over the last decade, but
Hmm.
talk to me about the psychology behind that, because I think there are also stagers listening. We have a lot of home stagers in our
Hmm.
community, but for the interior designers as well, so that they can better prepare their clients. So let's first I want to talk first about that, because then I do want to bring it back a little bit to talk about um, what do you do for design when they're not immediately looking to sell? But first of all,
Oh, I
let's
have
talk about the
plans.
sell. Let's just talk about the sell.
Okay.
What is involved nowadays?
Okay. So when you're talking about selling your home, you then have to shift to the buyer mindset. So the buyer mindset out there right now is that they will not purchase a home if it is not move-in ready. And that does not just include staging. So a big part of my job is I develop a house plan for all my clients before they're like in prepping to sell. So that means that we're doing minor renovations. Of course we have to paint everything, but that includes, fixing the cupboards in the kitchen, the backsplash in the kitchen, updating the bathrooms. Interior is a really big one to like just better the flow of the house. But then Rebecca, it's not just the interior, it's the exterior too. It's the curb appeal. So I think that's interesting. I don't know if the designers that you mentor or work with, if they actually consider the exterior as a part of their package, because that is huge for us. It's really funny. The first thing I do when I have like a new listing and or I get a call from a client, I drive by their house. It's the first thing I do. And so I come in with a recommendation for the exterior of their house immediately. I change the numbers, I change the lights, I paint porches. So the buyer mindset these days in this type of market is that they want move-in ready. They don't want to do a thing to their house. They want it to be perfect. So of course, after all these house improvements are done, then we come in with the staging. So it's a layered approach.
Mm,
But it's also, I mean, one of the biggest stresses for people when they're selling is that there's a time crunch, right? There's a really fast time crunch. Sometimes I have to sell a house in 2.5 weeks. And that list that I go in there and say, we have to make these house improvements because the market is demanding that we sell like move-in ready homes. It can be very stressful. So
wow. Wow.
that's the biggest thing that like, and I've been very fortunate just with my background and knowing how important design is. that I put a lot of time and effort into my homes that I sell. They are move-in
Mm.
ready and they're staged beautifully.
So what happens when you walk into someone's house? First of all, I love that you do that with the exterior. It's like you're coming
Hmm.
already proving your value. You're like, boom, here's what I
Absolutely.
see. Here's what we need to do, which is awesome.
Hmm.
Immediately I'm thinking about my house. I'm like, oh shoot, what do I need to change before Wendy drives by my
Yeah, I
house?
was going to say, if you want me to drive by, I have no problem.
I already know the things. I just haven't done them. But what I was going to say was when you walk into this person's house, do you ever have a reaction like internally where you're like, oh wow, I'm so glad they've done fill in the blank?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I mean, there's a relief, that kind of comes in when I know I walk in and a lot of it is just, just minor touch-ups. Like I know the
Mm,
kitchen's good. I know the bathroom's good. I know that the light fixtures don't work, but that's fine. I can change that. I can do touch-ups of paint. When I start seeing like big furniture and I see a lot of like clutter and things like that, I'm worried about what the walls look like, you know?
mm.
Because I don't know what's happening behind those walls. And painting is so expensive. It really is expensive, and it's an investment. So, I try and I explain to my clients up front, Rebecca, is that when you're going to get your house market ready, especially in this type of market we're in right now in Toronto, is that I recommend that you budget about 1% of the sale price for home improvements.
Wow. 1%. So what
Yes.
is the average home in Toronto? Like one and a
One
half million?
between, yeah, 1.5 to 2 million, I mean, we're talking, I guess, more like, the main central areas. So you're looking at 15 to $20,000.
Right. Does
And that
that
is that is
surprise people?
um I think because I set it up front and then I explain to them the value that they're going to get from that, I think it
Hmm.
helps the blow a little bit. I haven't run into that quite yet where they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not doing that," because I really walk through the value it adds and what the market is going to value that. So it's yeah, I mean I've had some pushback, but I mean it's also deferred maintenance. Here, we're going to talk about this today
Yes, I want to talk
because
about
deferred
this.
maintenance is a huge thing. There's this mindset, and I'm going to talk to your designers about this. There's this mindset where it's like, well, I'm going to move one day. Why bother doing that? And I say
Yes.
the exact opposite. So for example, right now I have a couple buyers that are they're upgrading their house. So they're going from like a semi to detached, and we're looking for their dream home. What I say is, let me come into your home now, let me do a walkthrough with my stager, and then we put together a house plan. And let's work on that. Let's chip away at those tasks now. Because what's going to happen is we're going to find your dream home and we're going to have to turn your house around in 2 weeks. So instead of like having to paint everything and fix the backsplash and the cupboards and things like that, let's do that now while we're looking.
Oh my God,
And
I love that you're saying this. This is so validating because I keep saying to my husband, we need to do the fence in the
I know.
backyard now
Yes,
because then what's going to
now.
happen is we'll be scrambling. We'll be paying top dollar to do all the things.
Absolutely. Yes. It's funny,
Yes.
Rebecca, I'm painting my house this summer, the entire house interior, because my husband and I are looking for a house potentially in the fall. And I'm so crazy that I'm having someone come in when the kids are at camp and I'm
Yeah.
painting the whole house when they're out,
Smart.
because I've just learned and I've seen these clients and I feel for them. Like I feel like I'm the one, the bearer of the bad news saying, if you're going to get your house market ready, you have to do these things. And it's very stressful. And it's a lot of
Hmm.
money. It's another barrier for me is trying to explain, like a lot of people think, well, why am I going to put money in for something I'm selling? Right? There's a lot of that too. So of course, then I have to explain the value of that and what
Hmm.
it looks like and the price, the days on market will improve and your price will improve.
Right. Because
So
that's
it's
something that has changed for sure, right? Not all houses are selling like within a couple of days of hitting market with bully offers the way they were a few years ago.
not at all, especially right now, currently where we're sitting. But I'll tell you something. Here's the formula I believe in the Toronto real estate market right now. If you price your home correctly, and you pair it with a very strong marketing campaign strategy, but that includes staging and getting it move-in ready, you will sell the home. You will attract the most amount of buyers and you'll sell the home.
Mm,
So
right.
the formula works. It's just a matter of getting, working with the clients as partners to get there, which is
Okay,
what I
so
do.
let's take this back a step. So we've got the interior designers and decorators here
Hmm.
who whose clients, I can tell you from personal experience, a client will bring us in and they're like, well, we're not ready to move yet, but we're thinking that in 5 years, or the kids are going off to university next year. And so,
Hmm.
we might then consider selling. And so they turn to us as the interior designer sometimes, like we're the experts, which obviously I'm also a real estate expert, as I just shared. Ha ha ha. But they come to us and they say, like, well, we don't want to invest too much, or
Hmm.
we want to make sure it appeals to the greater number of buyers, which as a designer, you hate hearing that. I'll tell you honestly, Wendy, because
Hmm.
that means I'm like, what? So I can't design with any personality. I can't
Hmm.
have fun with the draperies, like the beautiful
Right.
drapes that are behind you. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can see it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so, what do we do in that situation as a designer when a client brings us in, short of bringing in a realtor as well, which we could do if the client is serious about
Hmm.
wanting to make sure they're updating their home for resale? I would highly recommend a designer partner with a local realtor, right, to bring them
Absolutely.
in.
Yep.
I'm sure many realtors would come. They're not going to charge you. They'll just come and
No,
they'll get in front of the client and they'll say, here's if you're planning on selling in a year,
it's a
don't
great
do
idea,
this,
Rebecca.
do
Yep.
this,
Hmm.
right?
It's a great idea.
And also for the designers listening, you're always looking for work. And I always say, connect with local realtors. Could be a
Hmm.
great opportunity, a great way to show your clients the value that you bring, and
Hmm.
also to partner and get in front of a local realtor. Anyhow, the
Well,
marketing brain is like tick, tick,
we'll
ticking for
we'll
me.
get back to that because you'll see how I partner with Meg Rogers as a closing gift. So there's ways
Ooh,
to partner with realtors for
yes, let's
this.
talk about that. I
Yes,
love
because
it.
it's been very high. It's so popular, my
Okay.
gifting. So we'll talk about that. But no, you ask a really good question, and I'm going to tell you the mindset that we come in when we're looking to get a house ready for resale. And I think there are tips in here that can really help designers in how they can lay it out. First, I think it's important to ask them, what is your time frame here? Like, how long is this house? Is this your forever house? Is this your 5-year house? Now, truth be told, Rebecca, they're not always going to tell you that. They're going to say, oh, no, this is our forever house. And then they have a 1 and a 3-year-old and they have one bathroom. You can know, you can, yeah, you can see that, they're going to
Or
have
a
to move.
7 and a 10-year-old, and you have one bathroom, and
Right.
you're like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
need to
Oh,
brush my teeth. Get out of the bathroom.
exactly. So you can kind of see like, okay, they'll tell you it's their forever house, but no, it's not. So then you have to take the lead yourself a little bit. So the first thing we do when we go into a house, the biggest thing is decluttering. Okay. We have to declutter houses. Like, I've lived in my house for 12 years. I'm terrified to declutter this place. But what I think from a designer's perspective, I think that you can help with storage solutions. Like I really do. I think if you can offer some, especially for kids areas, doors are always good. Like cabinets with doors.
Hide it. Hide
Um,
it.
Hide it, but be able to make it an easier step for when that resale has to happen. I will tell you, walk-in closets, hugely valuable.
Hmm.
So they're
Yes.
expensive. I realize that, but especially in North Toronto, that's where primarily I focus is North Toronto. The houses have the smallest closets possible, and I've had clients just walk out and say, "I can't do this." So if you're able to offer storage solutions for kids gear, things like that, or walk-in closets or like a front hall closet that's organized, those things go really far and they help us. So, and I believe that it's also beneficial for the clients because they need the storage options and it's great for resale. So that's
Hmm.
the first thing. The second thing that we look at immediately when we walk in is a sense of flow. So the flow of the house. So keeping this in mind, and I understand what you're saying, like you want to be able to like get to know your clients and really recommend like their personality. For example, my curtains, those are my personality. So you want to, and that's okay to do that. So like we say, more neutral colors are beneficial, but if you want some personality, like one accent wallpapered wall is fine. We work with that in bedrooms a lot. Like we'll make it a little girl's room or something like that. So little accents of personality, but overall just kind of more neutral does work a lot better. So we don't have to repaint it. And then, maximizing light. Just wherever you see that we can maximize light and flow in a house is really great. And then furniture size. So coming into a home that's designed, yes, you're going to get higher value for that house. Absolutely. Kate Young loves to talk about the house that she sold that had the kitchen that you redesigned, and the price was
Oh, yes.
incredible. Yeah, she loves talking about that story. And it's true. If you have a designed house, you're going to get a higher value. But what happens is sometimes, the furniture might be like made custom for that space, and it might be really big. And what happens is typically we'll go in and we're going to want to make smaller furniture. We actually set up the house for photos, believe it or not. Sometimes we don't have coffee tables, which, and you'll walk in the house and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like this, but it does because it's the flow of the house. So it's a very different perspective when you're selling a house versus living in a house. My stager in particular doesn't have TVs in any room. There's not one TV in the house, maybe in the basement. So, it's just kind of like just being aware of the sense of flow of the house and just, neutral tones, not too big of furniture. You can have personality, but maybe accents of it and things like that. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, I still want to wallpaper all the walls
Yeah.
because accent walls are out.
Okay. Oh, accent. Good to know. Good. Well, I've seen a lot of
God,
accent walls, but I'm also selling homes that were like potentially designed like 5 years ago. So that does make sense.
you got to go all or nothing. Come
Yeah.
on, people.
Well, we see
Anyhow,
it a lot with bathrooms. Bathrooms are wallpapered, and that's fine. Again,
yeah,
that's a good use of personality,
it's
or like
small
we see a
pop.
lot in kids' bedrooms, little girls' rooms with like one wall of just all flowers, and we work with that. We absolutely do. But, when we go into a kitchen, I have a listing right now, and the kitchen is gorgeous, but they have black cupboards with gold, hardware,
Hmm.
which looks beautiful, horribly photographs.
Yeah, you were saying that was it. We were in a call because we're doing an event together. We'll talk about that
Mhm.
later. Let's
Mhm.
not forget to talk about that.
We'll talk.
But you were saying about red. Red does not
Red.
photograph well for real estate.
Yeah, my stager is going to hate these. No,
But I
red.
actually love red. I
I know,
love
so do
those
I.
curtains.
I have
Yeah.
accent of red in my house, red and yellow and blue. And yeah, red just, you know what it is from a photography standpoint. It's too overpowering and it
Yeah.
doesn't allow for the natural highlights of the house. So the important thing is that, design is not, and design is not about making things look pretty. It's really about, highlighting the best features of a house. And so, when we have photos, we need every single feature to show. And when you have a very prominent color like red or a black kitchen, it takes it all away.
Hmm.
And people
Hmm.
just like when buyers, like they're so picky right now, Rebecca. Like I can't tell you, like the comments, I will have like the most perfect, beautiful house. And someone will say, well, the baseboards are like the wrong color.
Oh my God. The
Yeah,
baseboards you can change yourself.
I know, but it's
Holy
interesting. It's
shit.
it's a generational thing, to be honest with you. Like
Yeah,
they're
interesting.
not, they're not really yeah, they're just not wanting to do any work. So
Hmm.
hopefully that helps. I think the storage is really big and just,
Hmm.
keeping in mind that just the flow of the house.
Well, I think designers are going to love hearing the storage because that means we get to do all the built-ins.
Yeah, I think
We
they're
can,
worth it. The only time that I've found that I know it's a huge investment and sometimes you don't get the return on it is a lot of, clients will want their front room to be a library, right? So they'll want like the floor to ceilings bookshelves, the
mm,
custom. Those are very expensive, as we all know, right? I
yeah,
love them personally. Like I can't wait until I get my forever house because I'm building them.
yeah.
But I will say, you won't get the return on that. So
So why is that?
because it's very personal.
Hmm.
It's very personal.
Bookshelves.
Yep.
People don't
Bookshelves.
read as many books. Maybe that's what it
No,
is.
and I think it's, they want to make it like a study. And then some people like
Mm,
prefer to have it like just as like a very simple formal family room. Like
right.
it makes it very intentional.
Right. As opposed to there's flexibility in this home. You could have this as your dining room, but
Exactly.
you could also
Yeah,
flip the dining room.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's very
Mm,
intentional. And even though I love it and it looks beautiful, and I'm one that will do that eventually, not everyone will.
hmm.
I've had some clients walk in and go, oh, and I'm like, no, no, we can fix that. Like these are little
Take
things
them
that we
out.
can, yeah, we can
Yeah.
fix that. But again, on the other side of it, sometimes the sellers know how much they spent on it and they think it's an
Yeah.
added value, and it's not.
Right.
There will be that one buyer that says, "Oh my God, I've been looking for this," but that's doesn't
Hmm.
always happen.
So what
So
I'm hearing is it's kind of a tricky balance, which I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but it's a tricky balance for designers between wanting to encourage our clients to personalize their home, make it function for them,
Yeah.
take that, turn it into the study. Let's make this a mudroom or whatever it might be. It's a tricky balance between that, but then also recognizing that, okay, if you're only going to be here for a couple of years, you may not want to invest the $20,000 there in your built-ins, and perhaps maybe we spend it somewhere else. Now, did you just buy this home and you're planning on being here for a decade or more? Go all in, because within a decade, man, who knows what's going to change 10 years from now. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely. Yeah. You just want to be intentional with what you decide to place your money on, you know? And it does help to have a realtor come in and talk about, what buyers are looking for. It's about the buyers. And I'll be honest with you, Rebecca, that changes. Like 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't have to do what we're doing now. And I'm sure in 4 and 5 years from now, from here, it might change, right? So it's about just understanding and working with someone, local that it's really, and I don't know if you noticed, when I introduced myself, I said I'm a full-time real estate professional. And that's important.
I did notice that. I thought that was really interesting. Talk to me about that.
Well, because a lot of realtors are part-time. I would say, I think it's 72%. So you want to find somebody who is really who knows what's happening, is following the market trends, understands what's happening in the market, is on the pulse for buyers, and knows what they're looking for. This is the most important thing. So to stay in touch with a realtor, a local realtor who knows the area that you're designing in, I think is really important to just connect with them and say okay, so what's happening right now? What are buyers looking for?
I also think there's a lesson there for designers, because there's a lot of designers who are part-time as well. And for those designers who are full-time, who are taking it seriously, what a great way to introduce yourself. Because you're right, there is a perception sometimes you meet, oh, they're a designer. Everyone's a designer these days. Everyone's a decorator.
Everyone's a real estate agent.
I'm a full-time interior designer with an residential design firm in Toronto, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And I have to call myself a real estate professional too. So there's ways that I'm obviously trying to do my best to kind of stand out from the rest. It's letting people know that this is a hard job. It's changing, evolving every single day, and you have to be involved full time to understand it. And we may do another podcast in a year from now, and it might change. It might change, and it might be everyone wants, red in their house. I don't know. I don't know.
And we'll come back here and be like, remember when?
I know. And then I'll be like, Rebecca, we need to do a follow-up. But it does change. But I think those are two really important things just to keep in mind. And I think I think for a good tip for your designers is that when you're meeting with a client, do ask them what their current and future plans are. Really make sure that you have that conversation up front, because that will help. And again, it's just, you're adding value. You're then you're standing out from the rest.
So I have to tell you a story. I'm not going to drop names of who any of these people are, but I went to see a potential client. I did a consultation, and did they hire me? I feel like they did hire me. I can't remember. This was a few years ago, and they were in Cabbagetown. It was a couple, older couple. I don't know if they had kids or not. If they did, they were out of the house, and they wanted to do all these crazy redesigns, new kitchen. The kitchen that they had in their row house, beautiful, tall ceilings, all Victorian. For those who don't know Toronto, these are Victorian homes. And they brought me in. I don't know how they found me. And they were showing me their kitchen that they had worked with on an interior designer 5 to 10 years prior. The kitchen did not have a full-size fridge. The kitchen only had a bar fridge that was an under-the-counter fridge, so they could maximize their counter space. And they said to me, and now I don't know, now knowing that potential client who we had a first date. We didn't go further than that. It could have been them. They blamed the designer, but somebody had the poor decision-making to say, we don't need a full fridge. We'll just do a little fridge, because they said it was a mistake. They should never have done it. This is for them. Now consider reselling a house like that.
We'd have to put a fridge in. There's no question.
Yeah. And then where would you put it without having to redo the kitchen? It's like a whole can of worms. I say that story of it's a great example of there are certain choices you could make that are just maybe a little too extreme. And now they're throwing that designer under the bus to me. Yeah. And this was a very well-known designer.
One that I see as well a lot in designed houses that you take out the front hall closet. And I've seen this in a few houses. And I'll tell you, for resale, you need that closet.
Yes, I would
You
like to
do.
have a front hall closet.
Everyone wants a front hall closet, like,
Yeah.
and the houses that just, the houses you come in and then the living room's right here and there's nothing, like those are harder houses to sell. But if you come into the traditional entrance, a foyer, you've got the closet here, you've got, a little place for a bench, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have the stairs, the quintessential North Toronto home. Um, the closet is very valuable, but I've seen a lot of designers come in and take it out. And now
Mm,
I don't put it back in, but then I do have to, with my
sure.
stager, I then have to create a mudroom out of that area. I have to
Right.
create
Hooks, a
something.
bench. Where are you going to put things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I want to give a really big tip on, and I'm very big on this, is that side entrances. Okay. So I actually really encourage all my clients with young kids and families, is that if they have a side entrance in their house, build a mudroom at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah. Interesting. Yep.
And I can't tell, I don't see them a lot, but I encourage every single client to do it. And Meg, I know, is working with a few clients of mine right now, and she's helping in doing that. So I think, those kind of things, those are really value. And that's also like, I'm a mom of a 9 and 12-year-old boy. So I understand the value of like them not coming in the front door. I don't want them to come in the front door. They need to come in the
Mm-hmm.
side door with all their crap, and they need to go
Yeah.
downstairs, like I don't, so it's also like looking to see, like, to spend money on something like that. I think there's huge value.
Mm-hmm.
Build a mudroom at the bottom of the stairs. We did it here at our house, and it's just changed our entire lives. So, like, again, those are things that, like, resale wise, that will help. So there
Mm-hmm.
are, like, I
Interesting.
could do a list of everything that helps, but
Yeah.
there's certain things that do benefit from a resale
So
standpoint.
it used to be, tell me, it used to be kitchens and bathrooms sell houses. Is that still true?
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, and curb appeal.
In curb appeal, of
And curb
course.
appeal.
Yeah.
Curb appeal is big. At least I feel it is big. I'd like to showcase. I want to attract as many people as possible. And the first thing they're looking at is at that front door. They're looking
Yep.
at what it looks like from the front. So I spend a lot of focus on the curb appeal. I change numbers. I paint porches. I actually change the numbers in all my houses. It's just a thing that I do. Change, the lights on the top, and things like that. So curb appeal, kitchens and bathrooms for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's also the biggest thing actually, buyers are very particular right now. A lot of them are mandating main floor powder rooms.
Right. Yes, let's talk about this. Is interesting because that
Mhm.
is definitely a selling feature. When I bought my house, now that was 13 years ago. I can't believe I'm
Mhm.
still in the same house. There was a powder room. And I remember
Mhm.
back then it being like a perk, not a
So
requirement, and just
the
feeling so
requirement is.
lucky we had it. But
Mhm.
now I feel so lucky I have it. And
Oh,
it's
well, it's good for
tiny.
resale, just so you know. You'll be okay.
Right.
Now, do you have an ensuite? No.
No, that is our biggest
Well,
downfall.
here's the thing, though. I will say the powder room will help you. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't have the powder room and no ensuite, that's like a double hit. But I feel
Right.
like, having the ensuite is a very big thing for families, and the main floor powder room. So it's the
Yeah.
amount of bathrooms. It's also, there is a desire to have a dugout basement, that
Mm,
is there's definitely return on that, because what happens is every time I go into a house and it's like, oh, the ceilings are only 6 feet, they want them 8. They say, how much is that going to cost? And that just
yeah.
adds on top,
Yeah.
So dugout basements are quite valuable, and I think it's worth the investment for sure. Like I tell my clients, I'm like, you do it, you'll get it back one day,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, but the
Yeah.
main floor powder rooms, people love it. It's almost not a mandatory now, but like a lot of my clients won't look at houses without it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've had these thoughts just on for those listening. You guys probably know my house. You've seen me post on Instagram. I haven't professionally really photographed it, but I should before we move, whenever that happens, one day in the next 10 years. Um, but what I was going to say is we had this choice, and this is for the designers listening. I think if you have clients who are indecisive the way I was, where we didn't know, we wanted to renovate, but there was nothing wrong with our house. Everybody who came into our house is like, why would you renovate? It's great. We had an IKEA galley kitchen. The house had nice moldings. It had been owned previously by an interior designer. So it was like very nice. Not my personal style, but very nice. And we hummed and hawed for like the first 8 or 9 years. And finally it was pandemic times. And I was like, screw it.
We're
I'm
doing it.
doing
Yeah.
it. And we took out the wall between the dining room and the kitchen. We opened up the back to bring in more light. designered it, the Rebecca Hay Designs touch.
Mm-hmm.
And now I absolutely love it. Will it get more money? I don't know. I hope so.
It
But my
will.
regret is, and we did the second floor, we renovated it, we did not extend.
Mm.
So
Oh, so you
tell me if,
extended on the back, but not the top.
no, we did not change the footprint. There was already an extension, a one-story
Okay.
extension. So we did not do
Mm-hmm.
anything structural other than like removing that load-bearing wall.
Mm-hmm.
For cost considerations, we considered, I had drawings done for it. We could have bumped out the second floor above
Mm-hmm.
the initial, above the one story room that is also has a foundation, like it's a dugout basement. So we could do a
Mm-hmm.
second story to give us the ensuite,
The primary
the
suite.
primary
Mm-hmm.
suite. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how big this suite would be, but it would be a suite.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't do it because the cost to do that was like
Mm-hmm.
$300,000 more. And
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with the value of our house at the time to really, I didn't want to live through that. And at this point, I don't envision us doing it. But I do wonder if I had been in that situation, like if someone else is listening is in a situation like that with their client, where their client's trying to get them to help them decide, where do we invest? Do we do this? Because like sometimes you have to decide where your money goes. You don't have the money to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that might affect our resale value. In your professional opinion, Wendy, would it have made sense? Like, is it always worth the investment to do that?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's because you also had the foundation already. Like you
Yeah.
had the footprint, and I think it's, we go into houses all the time, Rebecca, my colleagues and I, and there's a bump out in the back and they didn't do upstairs. And our question is, why didn't they do that? Because
Right.
then, I mean, it increases, it may cost you, it would cost you about 200. That's
Mm-hmm.
on average. I've had clients who do it. The increase could be upwards of like three or four of the value to your
Hmm.
house. It is it
I
there.
mean, it wouldn't cost me 200 because I would pick really expensive bathroom
Right.
finishes.
Yes. Yeah.
That,
So I think on
but yeah.
average, I mean, and it's also like you already had the foundation done. So it just would, and it would have been a pain. Let's be honest. It would have been a pain. And I can totally see
Yeah.
where you're coming from. But I think if I were in your life then, Rebecca, I would have told you, I would have told you, I think it's worth it because then we're able to sell this, potentially as a 4 bedroom, with
Hmm.
an ensuite. And like you have a 4 bedroom with a family room and an ensuite, you're naming your price. That is the most desirable
Right.
thing out there is to have
Yeah.
4 bedroom ensuite. You have a powder room on the main floor, you have a dugout basement, and you have a family room.
Right.
So I can count how much more from a value standpoint that just increases your house. So
Hmm.
I think also for you, I think it would have been nice for you to have that
I
personally.
well, I think it probably would have extended the usability of the house just for us. Like
Yes.
my desire to move is growing stronger with every
Hmm.
day. And it's not just that. I for the longest time that it was never an issue having one bathroom, to be honest. I'm like, we'll be fine.
Hmm.
But now as the kids are getting older, and yeah, we have a
Hmm.
full bathroom with shower in the basement, but I don't want to go down to the basement to do my
But by
makeup
the
and my
way,
hair.
nobody uses that. Nobody
I
uses the
know.
base the
I
shower in the
know.
basement. I live with 3 boys. Like I have a basement shower. No one uses it. They all use the one upstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean my boys are 9 and 12. So like it's getting
Yeah, it's just
tight.
starting.
And they're
Yeah.
getting bigger and they're entering adolescence, There's a lot of things
All the
happening.
things. Oh
So,
gosh.
I mean, I think for your designers, if somebody is considering and say they're going to live there for another 5 years, say, I think it's worth the investment. I really do.
Yeah, and I
I
think
think,
if I had known I was going to be in
mhm,
the house as long as I am, I probably would have done it too.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
These are the things that are hard when you're doing it for yourself. And
Of
maybe as a
course.
client, when you bring in a designer and they have the help of a realtor. Okay,
Hmm.
let's talk about that. So I don't want to run out of time before we say,
Yeah.
what is you mentioned Meg Rogers. So Meg, for
Mm-hmm.
those who are listening, she's an interior designer here in Toronto. She's actually a pop alumni. She's a member of my community. That's how we all
Mm-hmm.
got connected. She's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she and you have been working together.
Yes.
Talk to me about the client because I have actually talked on this podcast and in my community to designers about ways that they can connect with a realtor so that the
Hmm.
realtor can gift their services to their client. But I've never
Hmm.
actually heard from a realtor's perspective about this idea. So please tell me about it.
Absolutely. So Meg's a dear friend of mine, and she is incredibly talented, and she is just getting started. So, of course, we kind of partnered up to say, how can we help support each other? And that's a big thing, a part of what I do, and I love that is the collaboration. So we decided that for my closing gifts for my clients who buy new homes, we gift them a gift certificate of interior design consultation with Meg. And so it's funny though, because I go to the consultation too, because I want to learn.
You're so funny.
I know. I'm like, so then Meg's like, you really want to come? I'm like, I want to come.
You're like tagging
So
along. Do you take
yes.
notes for her?
Oh, I have measured for her. She'll laugh when she hears this.
That's
She's
so
like, can you
funny.
measure? I'm like, I can measure, no problem. So what it is that as soon as they close, I gift them. I wish I could show you. I have a postcard that I've developed. It's like a marketing postcard. And it just says, my closing gift to you. And it has a bio about Meg and says, my gift to you is a, consultation with Meg Rogers. She comes to the house. She'll go through the whole house. She'll then provide a plan of what she would do at the house. And then it's great. It's led to a lot of business for her. She's
Awesome.
gotten incredible business from it. So we've done it now, I think, I want to say 5 or 6 times. I gift it to every single client and they love it because I'll tell you something, Meg. I'll tell you something, Rebecca. Like they don't know, like clients don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. And they get very
Yeah.
overwhelmed because it's a new house. It's bigger. Like, what do they do? And my solution is like, don't worry, Meg's going to help you. And
I
so
love it. It's
we
like
book
eases their transition into their new life. I love
absolutely.
it.
And so Meg will book the consultation and we're there for about 2 or 3 hours in the house. And then she follows up with a plan. And then usually like I think about 90% of the time it's resulted in good business for her.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah,
guys, listening, you've heard me talk about this. Today, Wendy is proof that it works.
it
So
does work.
just freaking do it. I love
It's
it.
great. It's great.
Okay, before we wrap up, we have an event. Can you tell everyone about the event that I get to be your guest at?
Yes. Okay. So, as a part of my pillar of my business, community is very big. And so, as a part of that, I have been hosting these called Bosley Speaker Series, and they're all about home. So, we have our next Bosley Speaker Series is going to be on May 7th, and Rebecca is our headliner, and it is all about design. We're calling it Design with Purpose. And we have 3 different sections of this kind of panel. We have experts up there. We're going to be talking about refreshing, renovating, and resale. So we have Rebecca there. We have Evelyn. She's from
Alaire
what's
Homes.
Alaire Homes.
Mhm.
And then we have Katie and myself from Bosley Real Estate. So we're each going to be talking about different parts of design, and it's going to be at the Granite Club, and it is complimentary, and the invitations are going out tomorrow.
So
Look at
by
that.
the time when you're listening to this episode, there may or may not be spots left, but we'll put a link in the show notes so that if you want
Yes.
to join us, you can. It will fill
Yes.
fast,
It
I'm
will fill
sure.
fast. We're 40 to 60 people. So we're very excited as this is our third installment of the series, and we're just so grateful that Rebecca's going to be headlining it.
I
Thank
can't wait.
you.
It's going to
It's
be
going to
fun.
be it's going to be so
All
good.
right. Before we wrap, what is your last nugget of wisdom for the designers listening today?
I think big picture. I think big picture. When you're going in and you're meeting your clients, think about opportunities that you can work with them long term. Like you mentioned before, like, you go in there and it might be a very short project. But if you can help me as a realtor and kind of plan to work with your clients on like an annual basis to maintain their home and keep it refreshed, this will help me one day when they want to sell.
Mm,
So I think it's just looking at it from a big picture. And of course, you want the opportunity to go back in there and offer your guidance again. So I don't know if you can, offer that as an added value to what you give to your clients, is saying, here's what I can do, but as a part of this, there's another option that I can come in annually and kind of help you kind of refresh what we've done. And
love
that will
it.
just help me. That really will. So
Brilliant.
okay,
Brilliant. 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 Thank you so
good.
much, Wendy. Can
Thank
you let everyone
you.
know where they can find and follow you?
Yes. So I am with Bosley Real Estate and I have my own business under that. It's called Matter Homes. And you can find me on Instagram at matter_homes.
Fantastic. Thank you
Yes.
so much for being my guest today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait to see you on May 7th.
Well, how about that conversation? Okay, first of all, I just have to say that it totally blew my mind that Wendy brought it up. Like, I didn't even know she was going to say this, that she offers a consultation as a gift to her clients, a consultation with Meg, her interior designer friend. She's one of our Power of Process alumni. I have advised designers for at least a year, if not more, to do this exact thing, but have never really heard back from anyone if it works. Well, Wendy has told us today that it is an incredible gift for her clients. It makes her look good, it adds value to her clients, and it helps the interior designer to get more business. I hope you took a lot from that episode. I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram. I would love to know what aspects of this episode surprised you. Was there anything that Wendy shared about reselling a home that totally blew your mind? Or is there anything that she said that sounds totally crazy and in your area, in your geographic region, totally does not apply? It can be very different depending where you're from, city, town, country, all the things. So I would really love to have this conversation. And if you are able to join us on May 7th at the Granite Club, we would love to have you join us for our Design with Purpose event that Wendy is hosting. And you can just click on the link in the show notes to join us. It's an Eventbrite link. It is a complimentary ticket. It's going to be an amazing time. All right. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.